Good day, Bermuda. I'm Jamila Lodge of the Bermuda Economic Development Corporation, and this is Mind Your Business, the show that brings you the latest information about starting and running a local business in Bermuda. Join us as we discuss the local business issues that are important to you. Today in the studio, I have with me Miss Stacey Ferrier. She's CEO of Forge. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I am very excited that you're here. We've invited you down as part of our Global Entrepreneurship Week celebration. So we feel very fortunate, thanks to the partnership with the U.S. Consul General's office, that you were able to come and join us in Bermuda. But can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'll give a very brief background and history. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I started my first company right after I graduated from high school when I was 18 years old. Make a long story short, that was a company in the internet security single sign-on space. Built that company over the course of a few years and then sold it in 2013 to Reputation.com when I was 20 years old. And then after that, went on to publish a book all about the millennial generation. And after publishing that book and going on a book tour, decided to go for round two and started my second company.
Okay. So what is it about starting companies that tickles your fancy or excites you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is I've always had a lot of ideas.
Okay.
And some ideas better than others, but I've always had a lot of ideas. And for me, the kind of ability to start a business is being able to see those ideas come to life. Being able to gather a group of people who share kind of similar mission and value around those ideas to help build something that makes the world a better place for a certain segment of people.
Okay.
And so that kind of ability to bring something to life for me and then see people use that product or use that service to make their life better is the best feeling in the world to me.
Okay. So you get a little high actually every time you see one of these happens. But are all the businesses that you started successful, or do you have some,
Yeah. Yeah. I think, every entrepreneur has those few things that didn't quite work out. So for me, after I started my first business and then published the book, I actually started another company in between my book and the company that I'm running now that was called Add More that didn't quite work out the way that I intended.
Right.
A few things, just market, timing, things didn't go right. So that one wasn't really a success, but that didn't stop me from, I think I still had the bug. I wanted to get back up and do something else.
Yeah. I think that's important to note because sometimes, like you said, you're a serial entrepreneur. So it's like, how do you go from the big success, right, at a very young age, and then you're like, of course this thing's gonna work, right?
Yep.
I just built one, so people know that I know what I'm doing. So why wouldn't they, take on whatever the next project is? So how do you transition from a huge success, maybe not so big of a success, and then continue to propel yourself forward to whatever the next big thing is? How do you get through that process?
Yeah, so I think there's a big kind of question area for me there was when I was going through this process, which was like, when do you know when to stop pursuing something?
Exactly.
And then how do you get the courage after you've just kind of failed? And everyone knows that you have, because you've talked to friends, you've talked to family, you've talked to investors, you've talked to clients, you've talked to all these people about your idea, and then you go back to those people and you're like, well, that didn't actually work, but here's the next thing that I'm doing. And that's kind of a hard thing to get over. But I think the thing that I learned was that everyone is on their own journey. And even if you have those failures, people look more at, all right, so you failed, but what did you learn?
Yeah.
And are you willing to give it another go?
Okay.
And so the people that I've talked to kind of after starting the next company, after that one failed, they've said, the thing that stuck with me was that you had the courage to stand up and say, hey, I failed, but I learned, and I'm going to do it again.
Okay. I can appreciate that. I think in Bermuda, we're a small nation, right? So it's very small, and sometimes getting over failure is the hardest thing to do. So I do think, like, after watching shows and watching your movie last night, it's almost like the failing part is part of the learning experience.
Totally.
And then how you come out of it on the other end, like you said, that's what people respond to. They're like, yeah, you fell off the horse, but guess what? You got back up and you're riding again. So I think that's really important to note. So congratulations on continue to go forward with your new ideas. Now, Forge, can you tell us a little bit about that company?
Yeah, definitely. So Forge now I've been running for about 3 years.
Okay.
And we're building what we call talent sharing technology. So we've built a platform that allows retailers within a certain geographic area, like a shopping center or an airport, to be able to partner together to share employees. So that if there's one retailer that they're just getting a lot of traffic, they need more people to come and work, and they're right next door to a restaurant and it might not be
busy.
It's not busy, it's not lunch hour.
Okay.
Those people at that restaurant can actually go through the training to work at that retail location and go work there and get paid a little bit of money to fill in those shifts, and vice versa.
Okay, that's awesome. I mean, when you think about it, it's all about the sharing economy now, right? You know, you're sharing your house, you're sharing your car, now you're sharing your employees.
Yep.
And I would imagine that it creates some autonomy for employees too, right? You have the opportunity to continue to work. So that's great. How'd you come up with that?
Yeah.
like it's so funny because when you're thinking about ideas, sometimes you're like, why couldn't I have thought of that?
Yeah.
So what is the process that you go through when you're brainstorming ideas?
Yeah, so for me, really, this came out of a few things. First,
Okay.
it was the book that I published, 2 Billion Under 20. In that book, I had the great opportunity to talk to hundreds of kids across the globe, talking about what do you want out of your future career. And a lot of times the things that people kept coming back to me saying was, Stacey, I want the freedom and flexibility to pick and choose when and where I work. And I want to be able to know that I have the opportunity to work enough hours to make a living wage.
Gotcha.
And so I saw on the kind of employee side of things, people were asking, hey, I want more hours. And a lot of times employers can't give all the hours that their employees need and want.
That's right.
Because they've got their own business constraints. But at the same time, then I started talking to a lot of the business owners saying, hey, your employees are wanting more hours. What gives? Like, why can't you offer this to them?
Right.
And they were like, well, you know, we've got certain limitations, especially in the United States. A lot of times, if people work over 30 hours in a week, you have to pay
more
overtime or
benefits, all of that.
healthcare and all that sort of stuff. And so started talking to business owners and realized, hey, if there are two businesses that partner together, they can both double their labor pool, so they can have double the amount of people. Then they won't have the overtime
expense.
costs and all that,
Okay.
but the employees also get double the hours.
Right.
So thought it was really a win-win and wanted to go out and build technology to give that win-win
Yeah.
to the people who need it.
And so 3 years in, obviously other people thought it was a win-win too.
Yeah.
And that brings me to my next question, which is, of course, you are the lead, the founder of Forge, but what does it take to pull something like this off in terms of your team?
Yeah. It takes a dedicated team of people smarter than me to make it possible.
Yeah.
We've got an amazing team of folks that are working almost round the clock to make this thing possible.
Yeah.
So I really owe a lot to them. Our product engineering team, the guys who are working on sales, customer support, they're all doing a fantastic job to help make sure that our clients have the best experience possible.
Okay. So I mentioned the movie. So you were featured and She Started It. It was a great movie. We had an opportunity to watch that. And one of the things that it focused on was women, right? Women entrepreneurs, women in technology, and the fact that there aren't that many by comparison to the number of men who are in those industries. So with regard to building your team, do you make a concerted effort to try and identify other women who may be in this space to be members of the team, or is it really based on who can do the best job? Not saying that the woman wouldn't be, but like you said, they're few and far between. So it's like, I feel like you would have to search them out. Do you do that, or is that part of your process?
We definitely do, yeah.
Okay.
And that starts even before the hiring process, right? It starts the way that we think about writing our job descriptions, right?
Okay.
You'll read through some job descriptions, and the marketing is very clearly tailored towards a certain type of person.
Right.
And so we look at that stuff and say, how can we tailor this to the types of candidates that we want to attract?
Right.
So a lot of times we'll put in things there that say, you know, this is ideal for a stay-at-home mom. A lot of our customer support, it's, hey, if you're a stay-at-home mom and you want to come work 10 hours customer support for us, we want you.
Right.
And so we try and tailor our job descriptions, even the way that we, it's going to sound kind of weird, but even the way that we interview people, making sure that we're putting in breaks for people in case they need to make a quick phone call or they've got something that they've got to do.
Right.
We try and tailor that entire experience to people of all different backgrounds, genders, everything.
Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, because you're, a woman, those kind of things matter, and
Yeah.
we kind of implement them. But one of the things I wanted to ask you, because you started up, several businesses, and each business needs its own support in terms of financing and investment and that sort of thing.
Yep.
If you could name 3 things, especially from a woman's perspective, that they need to do when pitching an idea to an investor, what would they be?
Yeah. So one is, this goes for everyone, but one is just be prepared, right? So when you're going into pitch, know everything possible about your business so that you can walk in there and be extremely confident about what you're saying. So one is be prepared. 2, I'll piggyback off of that, be confident.
Yes.
I think a lot of times, I even catch myself doing it. I have an ability to be like, oh my gosh, I'm in the room with these really intimidating people and they've done so much in their career and they're just listening to me. Why would they listen to me?
Right.
But go in there and be confident, own the room. You're in there for a reason. You deserve to be there.
Yes.
So be confident.
Okay.
And then the third thing that I'll say is, you got this.
Okay.
So a lot of times people have this ability, kind of going off the be confident, but to be like, hey, I don't know about this. I don't know if I can do it. That self-talk is really important.
Yeah.
So make sure that you've got positive self-talk going in and you'll do great.
Okay. Well, I love that. Those are excellent tips, and hopefully those who are tuning in will take those to heart and actually do them. Before we close out, I just want to, because it's all about encouraging young people, especially women in this space. So can you leave us with any encouraging words for other young women who may be considering entrepreneurship?
Yeah. So I think one thing that I've learned throughout this journey for myself is that the learnings that you have in starting your own business are unmatched. People ask me all the time, they're like, well, don't you learn the most in your life throughout college? And to me, no. Right? It's you get out there by starting your business, going through the process of learning yourself, bringing people who, again, are smarter than you, hopefully, around the table to help you build it. And that learning is completely unmatched. So if you have an idea and you're worried about, how do I start this? What if I fail? What will other people think of me? Don't be worried about those things. Optimize for learning and growing your business, and surround yourself with people who are going to support you through that, regardless of if it fails or succeeds, people who want to help you through that journey.
Awesome. That's a great way to go into our break. So I just want to thank you so much for being here again. Of course, we're going to see each other again. We have a lot of things that we have ahead, but I really do want to thank you for coming out and really appreciate you sharing with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Mind Your Business.
How do you get inspired? Join BEDC on Mind Your Business to find out how entrepreneurs get inspired to start up their businesses, whether online or brick and mortar. Be part of the startup movement that can help you to start up the next great business idea. Tune in weekly to Mind Your Business, because if you don't, who will?
Welcome back to Mind Your Business. I'm your host, Jamila Lodge, and joining me now in the studio is Shelly Bell, founder of Black Girl Ventures. Welcome.
Thank you.
How
Thank
you
you for having
doing?
me.
No.
I'm good.
So we just finished talking to Stacey, and we talked a little about women in entrepreneurship, which we're going to continue on that path. But before we get started, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
I'm Shelly Bell. I'm the founder of Black Girl Ventures. We are a social enterprise that works to create access to capital for Black and brown women. One of the ways we do that is with a pitch competition where we toss out the judges and we engage the audience in raising money for women founders.
Okay. See that, and that's how we met, if I'm being honest, right? We met at the Global Entrepreneurship Congress in Turkey, and you told me that, and I was like, what? How can we be down?
Right.
So I'm really excited to have you on to share a little bit about what it is that you do. But you yourself are an entrepreneur, right? So
Yes.
you've started multiple businesses.
Yes.
What compels you to do what you do, and why do you keep starting these businesses?
Why do I keep starting? Oh gosh, I think it's crazy because my first business was a web development company, and this was like right out of college. I think so. The question of what keeps me starting these businesses is related to freedom, control over my own time.
Okay.
Just the excitement of building something that works. I like building things. So I think that's probably it too. Like I like to try things out, experiment, explore, and then when it works, I'm like, yay! It's like, this is great. I'm gonna grow it. So I would say that in terms of just building businesses in general, it excites me. I like to make things work and create strategy. In terms of Black Girl Ventures, there's a deficit in access to capital for women. So like women in general receive less than 8% of capital, of venture capital. And so I'm like, well, what can we do about it, right? And I just feel like, if I can do something and we can all get together and do something, then something will be done. So why not do what we can?
I think that's awesome. And I mentioned earlier in the interview about the sharing economy. And to me, it's all about that, right? The saying is many hands make light work and all of that. So in a situation where, like you said, Black and brown women historically don't really get access to capital. And even we were watching that movie, She Started. It was all about the fact that, you enter a technology industry or you enter most rooms where VCs and angel investors are, and it's full of men, and maybe you're the one woman in there. So how do you, in a space like that, how do you change that, or how do you slowly start to make it look different?
It's interesting because I think there is, it's a matter of who you know, right? And I think that these people just know each other. So I think that's one thing. And when you live a certain lifestyle, you can just float who you know and don't ever have to worry about who you don't know, right? And I think it starts with, and something that I've been actually challenging some of my friends with, is just invite me. Right. Like, let's just start there. I think that there's some revolutionary things that can happen and that are bigger and larger and, probably have a more instant or immediate impact. But I think we could just start with changing the rooms around. So those who are aware and who are conscious of the issue, just start inviting more women to the places where they're going to be majority men. Right. Start inviting more people of color to the places where that's not going to be a thing. Like, start inviting people into the space, and I think to slowly start so that people can meet other people. Because once we're human, once we humanly connect, I think that we could see change happen. But for now, it's just a lot of separation between socioeconomic status, what school you went to, and just life in general.
I would agree with you. And I think a lot of times when we at BEDC talk with the people that we help who want to start businesses, we're always like, you have to get out there. You have to network. Like, you're not going to be able to build that next thing if you're not putting yourself in a position to meet more people. Who knows who that next person is that can help you reach the next goal or the next milestone. So I would agree with you 100% that it really is about who you know. And how do you get to know who you need to know, right? Right? Exactly. To make that next thing happen. So you do Black Girls Ventures, you help women earn capital to start up their businesses. What are some of the types of businesses or types of startups that you've seen come through your process?
Yeah, we're industry agnostic, so we see a lot of different businesses. Everything from people who are doing really creative things with shoes. So I had one of our winners from the pitch competition. She created a cap that goes on the bottom of your cleats. So she's a runner. And she ran in college. And so when you walk off the field, you could damage your cleats. If you walk onto the regular, ground, and you could also, it's kind of hard to take them off too. So she came up with a Cleat Guard where you can just snap it on the bottom of your shoe and walk off. We have things like, we have a woman who came up with a platform for substitutes, to manage substitutes, because in the States, I don't know how it works here, but when you have substitutes in schools, the different school systems handle the different subs. So you have to apply to each school system. Well, she came up with a platform to manage subs across school systems. We also have a woman who came up with it's called CPR Wrap, where so what has happened is people aren't doing CPR anymore because they were afraid of doing mouth to mouth on strangers. So it's a small little packet, and you can unroll it and lay it completely across someone. It has all the instructions on the front of it, and a pad for you to do the compressions. We see some amazing things. We have a woman who just won our New York competition who works with college students and leveraging like their skills with brands. So she communicates with the brand and gets like large brands like Coca-Cola to come on board, and then uses the colleges to train students on like different creative things, and then she matches them up with the brand. So
really
it's
cool.
we see some really, really cool things.
Yeah, that's exciting. And you know, I'm trying to co-opt you in to helping us do one of these here in Bermuda. Because I think it's an awesome opportunity to access alternative forms of financing, right? Historically in Bermuda, we've done lending, right? You go to the bank, get a loan, and that sort of thing. So I think with this, it's kind of crowdfunding, right?
Yeah, it is. And so thinking of social capital, and social capital being who you know, how many people you know, how many influential people you know. So minority entrepreneurs are facing 3 barriers. One is access to capital, one is access to influential networks, and then the ability to hire. Well, in my opinion, all of those start with influential networks, right? All of those start with your social circle. So what we're experimenting with at Black Girl Ventures is, well, what happens if you roll that into a company brand? So if you can be an individual influencer, and that's great. Like, what if we rolled out influence into a brand? So basically, I had some influence from doing other things. I rolled that into Black Girl Ventures, and we create an even larger brand to now say, well, how do we leverage the brand trust that we've gained to raise money for people? So it's crowdfunding from an entity perspective versus like an individual that has to do a whole video and come up with a whole thing in order to raise the money. But it is definitely a version of crowdfunding.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. So I asked Stacey earlier, because you get to see all these pitches, right? And you see who wins. What are the top 3 things that you would encourage a woman entrepreneur to focus on when they're pitching, or how do they refine it so that they can get the yes?
Yeah. One, I would say, is tell a story. Humans connect with stories. So if you can tell a story or tell your story, to be able to drive home the understanding of the person in front of you. Because what you're really trying to convey is what you have that they can tap into, right? The second thing I would say is be really clear on this problem you're solving. The like, what is this? Why do I care? Kind of thing. That sounds harsh,
It
but
does. I'm like,
it does.
But
But ultimately, just like help me understand what I need. You know, how we work. I guess. And so being really clear on what that is. And then the other thing I would say is your numbers. Know your numbers.
Okay.
Know your numbers. Know your numbers in and out. Know the market size. Know how much you can make. Know how much your thing costs. Know what it would be wholesale. Like whatever applies to the numbers that you need to know to grow your business. Know those numbers in and out.
Okay. All right. That's good advice. And we do a pitch competition, which you're going to be supporting us as a judge. So hopefully, listen, I don't want to I'll be like, we got Shelly Bell on the judging panel, so they need to come correct. I think I need to send a email blast out and make sure that they do what they need to. So one of the other things I know personally of you, that you're a mother, right? And so you have 3 businesses. And you're doing this business that supports other women as well. So what do you do to manage all of those different things?
Hire people.
Okay.
So I would say, I have 3 kids as well. So I have 3 businesses and I have 3 children.
Yeah.
I have a 19-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 4-year-old. And management means everybody's involved.
Yeah.
Like everybody is doing something. And that has been the course of, how that works. So my oldest now helps with the print shop operations.
Right.
My middle child is, if we're driving, and he's got to send emails. So I think there's that. My mom is on board. Like she goes with me to all of my events. It's kind of like the head of my events team. So I think it's all like we're all in together, right? So I think that's one thing. Also, just being really clear on what my boundaries are in terms of like, I think I was mentioning to you how I don't do entrepreneur support on the weekend.
Yeah.
Like I don't. So even like some orgs have called me to do like startup weekend mentor and that kind of stuff, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but I can't do entrepreneur support on Sundays.
Yeah.
Like and I love it and I love what's happening there, but it's just being really clear on like what the boundaries are. And then realizing that, like, what times of the day that you work. So you have the benefit when you're an entrepreneur to figure out, well, what times of the day do you really work
best? Yeah.
So what time do you work best? So I wake up at about 4 a.m. And then I work straight through to about 6 or 7, and I go back to sleep. And then I usually get up about 9. And if I have meetings, I don't set any meetings until after 10.
Okay.
So I try to. And I don't even know if I should be living on the East Coast. Like, just like, when I'm in California or in other countries, I just feel so much more, I don't know, the time it flows so much different. So I even wonder, like, am I biologically supposed to be on the East Coast?
That's funny.
So I think, but figuring out how you work best is one, and just, trying to separate home and work as much as you can, even though I'm never technically off.
Right. You're always on.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. I feel like we could keep talking, but I know I don't have the time to do that. But I'm pleased to say that you'll continue to be with us. We get to engage you some more. I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for participating and elevating our Global Entrepreneurship Week activities with your presence, with your information, with your knowledge. I really do appreciate it. So thank you again.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us today on Mind Your Business. If you have questions, you can contact the BEDC at 292-5570 or email us at info@bedc.bm. And remember, if you don't mind your business, who will? I'm Jamila Lodge, and thanks for joining us.